You can't turn ordinary men and women into deadly covert operatives in just 6 45-minute sessions. But that's precisely what Britain's Special Operations Executive Unit attempted during World War II. Today I'm taking that exact 6-lesson close combat course to find out what Britain's wartime agents were actually taught before many of them were dropped behind enemy lines into Nazi-occupied Europe. So stick with me until the end, because by the time we reach lesson 6, you'll understand what really made this course the stuff of close combat legend, because it's not what most people expect. I travelled to York in the north of England to meet Chris May, a World War II historian and instructor of historical combatives at Battalion Martial Arts. For years he's studied William E. Fairbairn, Eric Sykes and the instructors who developed Britain's wartime close combat systems, reconstructing their original methods. Rather than just talk about the course, Chris suggested we work through it ourselves, lesson by lesson, just as an SOE recruit would have. Before we touched any of the famous techniques though, he introduced me to the warm-up, bacon wrestling.
There's a thing called bacon wrestling. So they want the soldiers wrestling, but they don't want them to hurt themselves. So it's essentially grips and grabs going to a lift, and you're just trying to lift the other person. What it's essentially doing is teaching you, as someone who's, if you've not done any wrestling before, not any martial arts, keeping your body weight low, all of the things you need to be doing with your upper body and your legs to stay stable. It's not specifically teaching you the throws, they'll teach you that later as a separate piece, but to enable you to do some free-form grappling. So essentially, all you're doing is start in a relatively equal grip, and you essentially just grapple from that position, and you're just aiming for a pickup.
Bacon wrestling is surprisingly fun, but also exhausting. At first, it feels just like a fairly standard warm-up. Looking back though, it was already introducing some of the core ideas that kept appearing throughout the rest of the course. And with that, we were ready to begin the actual Special Operations Executive syllabus.
The 6 sessions they had, they dedicated a whole session just to this. The basic version of this is it's just a knife hand, essentially. All of your forearm aligned. So if you miss with it, you're still hitting them with something hard. It's beneficial because if you can punch something, break your fist, this, less likely to do that, very easy to learn. So the basic version of this strike, what you're going to do, we'll do it from a neutral position because, again, if I'm an SOE agent and you walk over to me and I go, you kind of know something's up, it needs to be done conversationally and being able to snap straight into it. So all you're going to do is arm either comes up here, crosswise, you cut down crosswise, straight down or diagonal that way. You don't do palm up. Fairbairn specifically says not to do one palm up. I'm assuming because it's a bit harder to generate power. We're going across the body or down, however you want to do it. Step forward and step downwards because you're trying to put your body weight in. And what you just did, going backwards, I don't want that ideally. I want to stick with you. So if I'm hitting you with that hard, I'm going to stick and start carrying on fighting from there. Because if you've got weapons at your belt, you don't mean you've got anything, and I just go bang, oh yeah, you're now going to kill me. So I need to, once I've hit you once, I'm like Velcro on a stick. You can try that on me. We can try it on the pads in a minute, but just for now, use me as a dummy. Bang, So normal conversation distance is enough to quickly go for it. Target areas would be clavicle bones, throat, philtrum, eyes. That's it. And then just stick to me.
Can you wrap around the back of the head?
Yeah, that's fine. Just go in with a strike first and then I'd follow up. So if you wanted to do multiple, again, you could come in and then follow up with another hand or an elbow. Aim for like my chest, because then you can hit me a bit harder. And I've just cracked you in the throat, put a pad down for me. So you've just gone down there, or I've cracked you in the throat and dragged you down. Then it's a case of through that pad, so you get power. So they do it as bang. Think of that into the base of the neck.
Unload, right?
Throat, and then that's it. And then don't just keep going. One way you can think of it is if your hands were chainsaws, how would you fight? You just exactly that. It's meant to be simple and quick to learn. So if I've taken that step to go smash in the throat, My next obvious choice, if this hand's ready, is to then smash you again, feed you a tiger claw, feed you whatever else. Yeah. Because you've done martial arts, you want it to be like nice and perfect. Yeah. Doesn't matter if it gets messy, you just need to hit them as much as possible. Yeah. It needs to be the case where I'm going, oh God, no. I'm not thinking about attacking you back. I'm just going, oh shit, I'm
mayhem.
Yeah, that. Okay. That's yeah, good. Yeah, good.
Not tangled up.
Yeah, that's fine. And this is another thing I tell my students as well. If that happens, it goes to shit. Don't stop. Do something else. You got round the back of me, strangle me to death. This is the other thing with combatives. They didn't necessarily, if you knew something from your ordinary life, they're not going to try and stop you doing that. But if you already know how to strangle someone, or you've done jiu-jitsu or something like that, they might try and reprogram some of the stuff that they don't think is effective. But if you've got stuff that works, it's kind of meant to be a system that you can work into what you already know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the point is, I'm just standing here as someone who's checking your tickets or checking your... So I might have been here for hours and nobody else has tried to assault me. But so you've just tried to give me a piece of paper. I've just gone, that looks weird. Maybe I've looked at you too long, and then you just go.
Yeah.
Because you do not want me to twig and call more people.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Although the technique itself is surprisingly simple, its reputation certainly isn't. This technique is associated with one of the most famous stories in SOE history. Nancy Wake, one of Britain's most decorated wartime agents, allegedly killed a German sentry with a single edge-of-hand blow to the throat when her cover was almost blown. At this point, I thought I'd understood what the course was trying to teach, but I hadn't. Not yet.
Then you go on to other striking tools. So one of the main ones is a chin jab. So that's essentially just a palm heel strike going into the jaw, and then your fingers come through into the eyes. Not 100% necessary, but if you can, you want to try and trap their arm, or at least grab them round the base. This again is to stop them getting away and drawing a weapon.
Yep.
It's also because if I'm here and I go around here, if your weapons are on that side or that side, I'm trying to isolate you from your weapons.
Yeah.
So if you've got anything at your belt, say, again, I'm a good SOE agent, I've twigged that your gun's on that side. Yeah. Ideally, if I can, I want to try and grab you around that side so that you can't
take my arm away from the weapon.
Yeah. With that, from a conversational kind of distance, I'm going to jump in again, grab that, and at the same time, that's smashing into your jaw, and these fingers are coming over and into your eyes. If I feel like I've got a good purchase, arms coming up, I'm going to push in at the base of your spine and then shove that hand through your eyeballs, because I want you to fall. Yeah. Because then that makes my life a lot easier. I can just stamp on your face. If I haven't, so say I've done this in a rush, and maybe I've caught you in the chin, but I've just gone too far. Mm-hmm. So now what they train to do, rip and tear, so I'm going to stick with you, but then that's going to come back and scrape down, grab an ear, grab whatever I can, just scrape through the face, and then I'll just feed you something else, feed you another one. It's simple, but it's that mindset and that brutality that's coming with it. And you've got to take civilians, so you've got to train them out of that squeamishness so that they are prepared to go straight for it. So if you want to have a go at that, so it's basically just lock down one of my arms and chin. Yeah, that's it. And just come over. Yeah.
I'll try and miss and come
Yeah. So if you miss now, and then, yeah. And then just repeatedly hit me. Just bang, 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 bang.
Yep.
Hit them a lot, chuck them on the floor, stamp on their head.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. So you've smashed me in the face, I've reeled back and gone, down, and just hit me in the back of the head. So you can tie them together. It's like some of my favourite combos I'll lead with the edge of hand, because it's a nice one, crack in the throat, and then I can feed you a chin jab afterwards.
Yeah, that's like bang. Just like a 1-2, right?
Yeah, exactly. You've got jabs in your tiger claws, which we'll look at in a second. You've got almost sort of hook kind of movements with your edge of hand blows. Yeah. And you've got an uppercut through your chin jabs. You also have inverted chin jabs, so you come down through. Yeah. So if the head's down, crack that into the back of the skull as well. Yeah. So that's your basic striking. Then he does have kicks in there, so we'll look at kicks. He talks about elbows and knees and things like that, but that's quite simple and obvious. It's literally if it's open to you, elbow, knee them. If they're in close, They prioritise the use of the edge of hand blow and the chin jab, and they talk about other strikes coming into factor if you're too close to utilise those. So that's where you start using elbows and knees and things like that. And they talk about using head as well, so headbutts and basically just anything nasty. Kicks, however, interesting with kicks because obviously I have a taekwondo background and you're kicking right up at someone's head, not something that they're advocating, but they do still have kicks in the system. So the way they're tending to talk about kicks is you're using the side of your foot and you're not going above knee level. Okay. So I'm kicking in the shin. So I'm aiming to kick in the shin, scrape down it, and then stamp hard on your foot. So this can be used in a few ways. It can be used as an entry. If I'm standing here and I just boot your shin in and then stamp on that and then feed you other strikes, can be quite good. Yep. The other way that you can use it is if someone's running at you. If I'm stood here talking to someone whatever, and someone's just coming in, just lashing out at their near leg, bang, and then stamping down, hopefully sends them flying. But that's the way they're taught to use the kick, is just low at shin level. The other one they're taught is from when you're in a grapple, and it's just essentially in a grapple like that, use the instep and boot the shin and stamp on the foot again. Okay. So as you're in the grapple, bang, stamp. Could be I'm approaching, could be I'm running. Say the way I'd set this up is say you're talking to someone there. So you're not ready in a stance, you're just there. Someone's, and out the corner of your eye, someone's coming, bang, and down. Yeah, and then we're just back into strikes again. And actually where you were there, because you were down, chin jab. So boom. Yep. Yeah. 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 If I've started to get a good grip on you, that's where you can do. That might be a good time to just essentially scrape down my shin with your boot. Ah, okay. Because I'm already getting you. Yep. So just boot me and stamp. Hard. I know we can't do it that hard on each other, but. So one of the other interesting things about the way they do the kicking is they talk about not kicking above the knee, like I said, but they don't preclude you from kicking higher because they say you shouldn't kick above the knee unless you're particularly flexible or well balanced. So they're going, it's better to kick below the knee. However, this is something I think is quite interesting about the World War II combatives, is they are allowing that wiggle room for people who maybe have done Savat and can kick higher with a stable base, who are good enough to do it. But they're just saying if you're an average person, don't try and kick higher than the knee.
By this point, it was clear that none of the techniques themselves were especially difficult. The real challenge was the mindset behind them, taking the initiative, committing completely and using whatever was available, instead of hesitating or trying to find the perfect technique. But that raised another question, one that you're probably wondering too. What happens when you've already lost that initiative? What if they grab you first? Well, that's exactly what Lesson 3 was designed to answer.
The next thing is escapes from holds. I'll tell you ahead of time that Sykes didn't agree with Fairbairn's way of doing this. So basic first one is just someone's grabbed you by the wrist and is trying to drag you somewhere. Yeah? Yep. Anyone who's done jiu-jitsu will be familiar with this. So all he says to do is essentially peel your wrist back against the weakest part of it. So that. Yep. So that's all it is. Grab the wrist, peel it out. So that's it. Someone's grabbed that and you just peel it away. He does one for if it's a double on single, which is, so if you've gone double on single, he says grab your own hand and pull. Then he's got escapes from strangles. If you're strangling me, two-handed strangle, he says come over the top, grab the wrist and roll over into an armbar. Single-handed strangle, so someone's got you like that, he shows these against a wall, is grab this, turn it to get the elbow facing and crack it as hard as you can with your arm. Sykes doesn't like some of those, the specific ones. There's one thing he says you should do instead. If you're a strapping commando, like especially the double strangle. Yeah. Okay. If you're a commando and you're stronger, that might work. Also, if you kick them first and loosen them up and do it, probably going to work as well. Yeah. But again, if you're that SOE agent, maybe not. Sykes' approach is literally just, okay, you've just given me your two weapons, just crack them in the throat. Yep. Or even better, we can double up the edge of hand blows, double chin jab, fingers at the fumble. If you've got the arm reach, just straight through their eyeballs, stuff like that. Again, if you've got the wrist grab, you've just given up one of your weapons, so it's going to hit you in the face. Yeah. Especially if you've done double. If you doubled it up, that's even worse for you, because now you just can't defend yourself. Yeah. As much as what Fairbairn's showing isn't bad, I just think Sykes has twigged. It's just better hit him. Yeah. Just hit him. And Fairbairn, funnily enough, by the end of the war, is teaching that. It says
that to me sounds like,
yeah,
seems like you're in a good...
It specifically says after you've got away, immediately strike them.
Yeah.
So, but I think Sykes is just a bit ahead, and it's like, well, I don't need to escape that. I'll just use that. If you're standing stock still and aren't doing anything, you can get out of that relatively easily.
Yeah.
If it's actually a situation where I've just come over and gone, now, if I'm dragging, that's a bit harder for you to do that. Yeah. Whereas if I'm dragging you forward, all of the stuff we've just done in the striking, and again, it's simpler to learn. If you've only got 6 sessions, it's a lot easier to learn. It's not complicated. You don't have to do anything. It's just, oh, someone grabs hold of you, just hit them immediately. Just start smashing. Yeah. Someone tries to strangle you, just smash eyeballs, do something, knee them. He suggests kicking their shins and stamping on their feet. Just basically do anything.
So what was the...
So grab your own hand and pull it through.
Grab your own hand and pull it out.
So go through the middle and pull out. Yeah.
I've seen that's the standard ladies' self-defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to me, though, if you've got both hands here, bang, bang.
Yeah, exactly. In reality, if I'm doing that, what I'm doing that for is to drag you somewhere.
Yeah.
But if I'm dragging you somewhere, again, like we said before for the single hand, it's just pulling you. So double-handed is reach over the wrist and just turn into an arm bar. He actually says after you've done it, so after I've got you down there, it should then be edge of hand blow into the arm. So if I strangled there, come over, turn it, and then
edge of hand blow.
Yeah, and smash
behind the elbow.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to not go into automatic shoulder lock.
But again, this is the thing where I reckon if you know that and you can pull that off and you're good, they're not going to try and stop you from doing that unless they can think of a reason why that's not optimal. So the last one, so single hand, grip the wrist and turn, and then just hammer that with your arm as hard as you can. So yeah. Because also, if you think I've got you against a wall like that, you're just trying to present my elbow and smash it. I don't mind this one so much, to be fair. But the only thing for me is because you're having to turn that arm out to get it bent. Yeah. The only thing, just edge of hand blow my arm.
Yeah.
This is the same with the double. I quite like a double edge of hand blow into the crux of the elbows because it brings them in. The only thing you've got to be careful with is that doesn't make them headbutt you in the face.
Yeah.
So bang, bang, thumbs.
Yeah. One more time. Yeah, that's nice. Right,
so next one, so we've done like basic arm holds, and so they provide 2 releases from body holds. Yep. There's 4 in there, but I'm not going to worry about the ones that are when your arms are free, because that's nice and easy. It's basically, if your arms are free, break the fingers, gouge their eyeballs. It's easy because you've got your hands free to do nasty stuff to me, and I've just put 2 arms around your body.
Yep.
If your arms are locked, however, it's slightly more difficult because now I can't do anything with them. So if you... So first thing they tell you to do is basically do something incidental because I want you to loosen your grip up. So you're grabbing me in a very sensible way where you've kept your legs out of my reach. If I just grabbed you like that, if I've got a helmet on, smash my helmet into your face. I can do the kick into your shins and stamp down as well. Or I can grab your bollocks and just pull. So in training we do that. Simulate by grabbing trouser leg. So if you weren't already in the position where you'd moved your hips back, even if I don't get you, you're going to very quickly, if you feel me going for that, you're going to go, oh God, which hopefully loosens this up. I just want some space.
Yep.
So once I've gained myself that space, however I've done it, either by headbutt, grab you, kick you, or all 3, I've got some space now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to punch up against your shoulder with my arm. So I'm going to punch there, and then from here, circle round, and then face.
Grab.
So you've got loose.
Punch up. Pull down.
Yeah.
Hit. Bang.
Yeah. Whatever you get. So what I tend to do from there is it's bang. I want to go high because I want to try and keep that on my neck. Because I want to. If I go too short, it makes it harder for me. The higher I can get your arm, I'm basically going up and then down again.
Yeah.
To get you, but I don't want to go too high because otherwise I'm going to get you.
Yeah, I'm going to throw up.
A lot of students have done that, and I said, this is the thing. Again, this is the thing with combatives. Okay, you're scared. You might over-egg it. If I over-egg it and you go there, fine. I'll just carry on.
Back, right?
Come into chokes instead. Like you just got their back.
Yep.
That's not a bad place to be.
Yeah.
So if you do mess it up or go too hard and their arm goes over your head, you're out of the situation you're in the first place, which is that is very bad.
Yep. So what? Head, knee, up over. Yeah. Bang, bang. Strike.
But obviously someone grabbing you like that, there's only two reasons to do it. One is to pick you up and try and dump you, so you've got to do it quickly. Or they're holding you there because someone's about to come and crack you in the head with a bat or something.
Someone's coming to
The only reason, there's not much advantage to me having that hold.
Yep.
To go on to that, he also talks about, okay, if I twig midway through and I start resisting you, so if I can't get it round, then I just hit you. So there's one from behind as well. So if you bear hug from behind...
Yeah, I was just thinking what happens when you're lifting someone and carrying them off.
So you bear hug from behind. Incidentals are the same. It's like grab something, kick them, knock back with your head. Again, you can tell you've had training because you're automatically not putting your head somewhere up and smash it, and your legs are out of the way. So but you're doing all the things right. People won't necessarily. And his suggestion for this is as soon as this grip loosens, what I'm doing now is I'm going to just try and get out and get a wrist on the way through, and then from this position, kick you in the face.
Me. So am I doing? Hit something? Bang.
That, and then just, and then boot face.
This part of the course offered a deeper insight into the thought process behind the SOE training. Fairbairn and Sykes are usually remembered as an inseparable partnership, but they didn't always agree. Even as the war progressed, the course continued to evolve as they searched for the simplest solutions to incredibly difficult problems, constantly refining and readjusting, not afraid to disregard what didn't work and adapt. That completely changed how I looked at the syllabus, because this was never about building unbeatable fighters. It was about giving ordinary people the best possible odds in near impossible situations. And that's exactly what the next lesson was designed to put to the test.
And then the fourth session is on crowd fighting, which unfortunately we don't have a crowd, so it's going to be a bit hard to simulate. But basically the idea is that they did a thing called the Mad Minute or Mad Half Minute, not to be confused with the rifle version that some people might have heard of. It's basically you get a crowd of people around you I do it with pads and different things like that. The person in the middle has got to go for 30 seconds to a minute, full aggression on all the pads around them, and the pad holders will shout at them, swear at them, push in closer if they're not paying them enough attention, hit them, slap them with the pads on the back, simulate being attacked from multiple directions all at once. Yep. And then after that, half a minute, instructor would blow a whistle, and then you escape through a gap. So edge of hand blows, chin jabs, tiger claws. So essentially just go ballistic on the pads.
Okay.
So off you go. Nice.
With these strikes, whereas, I don't know, it feels...
But you're flailing everywhere, and you're going to catch strays, and the people near you are going to catch strays. Obviously, we can't simulate there being people behind you, because you'd have to attack over here, then over there, and then over there. But I hope you can feel that's quite...
If you just like...
Yeah.
What surprised me during this lesson wasn't how exhausting it was was how quickly the individual techniques flowed together into one continuous burst of aggression. Compared to the kind of striking I was used to, it felt wild, sometimes messy, but also strangely liberating. Looking back, that was probably the point. Not perfect technique, but staying aggressive, decisive, and committed when everything else became chaotic. And that brought us to the part of the course everyone knows Fairbairn for, the knife.
So your fifth session is on knife fighting. So what you're holding there is a Fairbairn-Sykes dagger.
Let me just bring it a bit closer so we can see. Very sharp, very long, very pointy.
So that is only used for killing. It's not meant to be used for opening tins. It's not meant to be used for any utility. It is meant for killing. Interestingly, they get a bad reputation after the war because people complain about the tips snapping off, which only happens if you try and use it to open a tin of beans. So the knife fighting period, they don't do masses of technique in there. They teach them how to hold it, and then the target areas, which is basically main arteries in the wrists, arteries in the throat, femorals in the legs, things like that. And then they get them to practice, basically get them to practice on dummies. The stuff that is in there and that they would have been shown is just basic attacks. So this, with that knife, you hold it out, your stance should be legs in a comfortable distance. Fairbairn himself says like it should be loose like a basketball player. Yep. So you should be, or a boxer. Yep. You should be in a stance where you can very easily move and turn and twist and attack all directions. So you should be quite loose. You want to be low down, so you're not being pushed over. We don't want to be up high. We want to be nice and low center of gravity, but with this ability to move. You want to be square rather than bladed. We're not fencing each other. We're square. Also, the knife stuff. A knife duel between two people using knives is quite a rarity, really. If I'm doing what the SOE want me to do, I should have stabbed you several times before we get to this point. So from this position, I want the knife forward, because then that's between me and you as a risk. You'll see it's done differently by Fairbairn. Sometimes it's this way around, sometimes it's this way around. If I'm this way around, this is great for if you don't have a knife, because I can use this to grab you. This is back, so you can't grab hold of it. And then I can use the forehand to grab and pull and hit things before I employ this and risk it being grabbed. If we both got knives, I want this forward, because if the only target you've got is to strike at my hand, really. And if you go for deeper stuff, you come into my range. If I'm this way around, you can strike at this hand, and I can't easily strike back. If you look at the videos of Fairbairn, it's not fully out, it's just a bit of bend in the elbow. He generally keeps it quite tight within my shoulder blades, because if I cut out there, I've just given you a gap to walk into. If I'm there, it's a lot quicker for me to come back. Basic cuts you can do with it. We want to be very wristy. We're trying not to use our main, unless we're fighting a crowd, we're generally just cuts are very wristy. So you can do basic S cuts, so essentially fold over and under, like that. He doesn't specifically talk about what cuts, he just shows people, he shows it being used in the wrist, and he talks about the fact that you should practice rolling it and practice doing things like throwing from hand to hand. I wouldn't do it with a sharp one. The other thing you can do is just playing around with it. He talks about doing 10 minutes of just playing with a knife, and it's to get people comfortable with it. So even when you're not doing your sessions, just pick up your knife 10 minutes a day, roll it around so you're not scared, and you're just getting used to this nice wristy motion where you can lash out very quickly with a knife. But again, it's not primarily a cutting knife. It's made for thrusting and stabbing people. So what they tended to teach is you want to try and get to the stomach is the primary target. If you can't get to the stomach, go for the throat. And what they tended to want you to do is use the cuts to essentially put your opponent into a position where you have access to one of those two places, or you're going to try and cut arteries and things like that. This is the other thing they say that you should practice. Pick a place for your knife to go, and it says practice drawing it over and over and over again. Go. Yeah, nice. So the reason you're drawing it here rather than out, if I'm coming towards you to try and attack you, and your knife's concealed and you've got to get out, so if you go and get it out and go to that hip, that's really hard for me to grab, and now you've got grab me and just pull me into that knife. You don't even need to stab, you can just pull me onto it.
Aware of the reputation of the Fairbairn-Sykes fighting knife, I expected this to be one of the most technical lessons of the day. It wasn't. Although the knife itself was new, the session felt somewhat familiar already. The stances, the movement, the mindset, and that makes sense because mastering knife fighting was never really the goal. Getting comfortable enough with the weapon to react naturally, decisively, and without hesitation, that was. And that led us into the final and probably the most brutal lesson of the course.
The last session is special occasions, so this is talking about assassinations again of sentries, so sentry killing. It's got bits in there around pistol disarms. First thing we're going to do, so generally it's called the commando walk. I don't know what they specifically called it, but we call it the commando walk. So it's a way of making yourself a bit more silent when stalking sentries. So what they taught them to do is, so you really hunker down, and then when you step, side of the foot and roll onto the side of the foot, and then side of the foot as much as you can. So it's just to make it really careful. So that's how you approach. As we approach our sentry, there's multiple ways they were taught to do this throughout the war, so this is something that changed. I'm going to do the version that the Commandos favoured, and then I'll show you the SOE, the one the SOE favoured. So the one that was favoured by the Commandos is essentially we're going to stalk up behind them, stab them in the kidneys at the same time we clamp our hand over their nose and mouth, turn the head to the side, stab the knife, so pull out of the kidneys as we turn to the side, stab them in the neck to try and get artery, throat and artery, and then we just punch the knife through and then gently lay them down on the floor and carry on. That's the commando kind of favourite, and also the SOE were doing that. Later in the war, the commandos switched to one where they go under the chin, turn up, and then stab and push. Similar thing, so we won't worry about that one, but we will do the one that the SOE do as a variation, when essentially they start getting, the Germans send out an order that rifles of sentry need to be worn outside to interfere with you getting to the neck. So they changed this. So the difference in this, we still grab nose and mouth and turn the head, but instead of stabbing in and punching through the throat, we literally just drag backwards on them and just go to town on the chest and the belly. So just continuous stabs as we drag them. So we're going to creep up as we would, sneak up to them, crack in the kidneys as we get the nose and mouth. As we lean them back there and we pull the head, we're just going to go. So basically, this is one in the book he calls a spinal dislocator. Obviously, the SOE were having to deal with people sat down, so it's specifically designated for someone sitting. We won't do this at full speed, we'll just do it slowly. So again, I've done my creeping up commando walk to you. You sat down, you're either typing or whatever, you're doing something, you sat down for some reason. So what I do is I pin that shoulder with a hand, and as I'm pinning that shoulder, I crack into the side of your neck, roll the arm round, and then I pull you over the back of the chair as hard as I can by your neck.
Okay.
So it's basically, I'm pinning that shoulder as well, because if I do that, you can roll with it. What I'm trying to do is break something in there as I pull you over the chair. If the chair is particularly rigid, you're just going to really
pull that
my spine.
Across that.
Yeah, you're using this as a brace to pull me, or either that, or I'm coming off the chair head first into the floor.
Yeah.
As part of special occasions, pistol disarms come in, so from a hold-up. So one of the things they mentioned specifically about hold-ups, which is the context, which is obviously if you're holding me up from there, I can't do anything. This is predicated on the fact that you have messed up in some way. You are holding that close, and you shouldn't have done this. You've made a mistake here by holding this that close to me. It's likely to work because you want me as a prisoner, otherwise you'd have shot me already, or there's some reason you don't want to shoot, whether that's because of noise, because of whatever, there's some reason you don't want to shoot me. The first thing they say is I should be acting compliant. You should be like, oh, please don't shoot me, hands up, going like, I'm giving you the sense that, nah, I'm not going to do anything. And then I will go either one way or the other, there's two ways. If I go there, so hands going down and going in with palm up, from this direction, if I've done that, so I'm getting my body offline at the same time. I'm doing that, From here, because I'm on this side of your body, I'm going to go under the barrel and bend it up there. One thing I'm going to say, don't put your finger in the trigger guard.
Yeah.
A lot of these can break your finger. So it's going to go up. As I go up, I'm just going to try and go over your shoulders. I'm trying to wrench this out of your grasp. As I do that, I'm going to start kneeing you in the bollocks. And then if I get it off you, I'll start smashing it into your face. Other direction. So if I'm going that way, here, there, because your finger's through that trigger and I've got a good brace on your wrist, I then just punch that out of your grip and hopefully break your finger at the same time. And then from here, same thing again. Start smashing you in the head and hurting you in some way. But yeah, so from hands up, sweep down, so turn your body away the same side. So you're turning the body off. Push. Yeah. And then that's coming up, and at the same time start kneeing me in there, and you want that out, and then you can start smacking me around the face with a pistol.
All right.
Yeah, so under the barrel, so just forcefully under the barrel.
Yep.
Think of it like a palm strike upwards. Yeah. So same thing, and now, but if you think my finger would be in there, so if you do that slowly while my finger's in there, if you punch that through, that's my little finger's going. Because there's no way against you full-on palm striking that pistol that finger's gonna hold that in my grip. So turn off, that's it, punch it out, and then start abusing me. From the rear, essentially all I'm doing is I turn off and wrap with whichever side I'm turning. So if I turn this way, it's wrap that and then straight into chin jabs. If I'm going the other way, wrap there. And I'll just go straight for your face with. This is a very simple one, so it's just, so have your hands up. And then just turn, wrap the arm and attack the face. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, good. Yeah. Doing the pistol disarms. So the same sort of thing with a little bit of variation will work on a long arm, because again, they're teaching them pistol disarms, but it has to work for other things. Yep. So you're not going to be able to strip this out of my hands, but the same initial setup will work from what we just taught. So if I'm holding this up on your chest from the front, so if you just treat the barrel like you treated my wrist, so just, yeah, now attack me. Or, yeah, get another hand on it, get in and just start getting down. As soon as you've got the barrel,
yep,
you need to get down it fast, because the only problem with this, especially if I've gone that way, you can hit me with the butt of that. So if I've gone there, that is a risk. So what I tend to do for this, so it's there, the first thing I'm going to do, this second hand is going down on that, now I'm going to attack your face. So yeah, with that long arm, you can go either way as well. So it's a bit safer for me actually if I go that way, because now you can't butt strike me with the rifle. It's a bit harder, but I'd still probably lock it down and then come in. So if I'm from the rear, I can do the same things again. So if you're marching with a rifle like that, I'm just wrapping the rifle and attacking your face. Either side as well. So if I would go there, wrap the rifle, bang. If I want to disarm you of it, I need to get that under there and then that on there so that I can twist it out of your grip and then hit you with it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's more dangerous.
This is a more dangerous way to do it because of that.
Yeah. I can
if I'm ready for you and I feel it going off, that's the next thing that's coming in.
Yep.
And a lot of them were trained that if you feel your rifle being pushed that way, immediately butt strike.
Butt out.
So you come in underneath like you did before. You need to get over and then just grab it somewhere along there and then twirl, and then that's now yours. But again, if I've made the mistake of doing that, interestingly, one of the ways they teach you to do it is single-handed, and then if I'm searching you, so now you can do the same thing but with this. So it's not as much of a worry. Just big sweep with your arm. Yeah, see? And you're fine.
Yeah. By the time we reached the end of Lesson 6, it had become brutally clear that this course was not for elite martial artists, but ordinary men and women who might suddenly find themselves in the worst moments imaginable. And I realised every lesson had been teaching the same thing. Keep it simple, act decisively, and commit completely, because your life and possibly many others depended on it. With that, the 6-lesson syllabus was complete, so I thought, because as we were packing up, Chris picked up one final weapon, a simple stick.
The stick stuff, not in SOE, but in Fairbairn's book, it's very, very quick to learn and very effective. So basically, basic stance is hold it under and over, lock it into your chest. So everything you're going to do is going to be done from here. This is kind of, if you think of it as your guard, this is your guard. So all of your strikes, so you've got bar strikes, strikes at the end, strikes at the end, punt, all of them, you can just fight with it from there. The reason we're locking it in and the reason we're holding it two-handed is because if it's locked into your chest like that, that's harder for me to grip. And if I do grip it, you've got more control of it there.
Yeah, you can wrench free.
Yeah,
easily, right?
Exactly that. So basically what they're taught to do, if I'm out here striking, and you grab hold of that in the middle, I should then magnetize that to me. Doesn't matter who comes to what, but magnetize, wrench over, and then come back in. That's the idea. And it could be multiple people you're fighting. It could be I'm smash, 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 and then whoever you are there, I'm coming back and you just happen to grab it. So then it's pull in and then back to smashing. Over under on your hands. And then pull into your chest. So if you're smash, 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 and I just go pull in, twist over, and then back to what you're doing. Keep going, keep going. Yeah. So his flow drill, we start from the chest. End of the stick, wrench it through the belly. We're then going to punt up through the face, and then as we're going to pretend we've missed, so we punt back down again, punch through, and then that's the end of his flow, but I just add on one strike. For the end of it is then bar strike the jaw, and then come back. So it's through the belly, up through the face, down through the face, punch through the jawline, and then smash the throat, and then back.
I was just thinking, when I asked the question, why is this hand under?
Yeah.
I suddenly twigged.
This is with a rifle. Yep. So, bayonet, bayonet, butt strike, bar strike. It's all rifle. And if you grab hold of my rifle,
yep,
bang, smash you in the face, return. So, it's all rifle retention.
Yeah.
But with a stick.
Belly, up,
down,
cross, bar strike.
Strike, yeah. And again, you can do the same thing with an SMG.
Yeah, and that's when it struck me just how ingenious Fairbairn's system really was, because everything overlapped. Everything reinforced something else. It didn't really matter whether you were holding a stick, a bayonet, a knife, or nothing at all. The principles were exactly the same. And only a true master of close combat would have been able to construct such an effective and efficient course. So could 6 45-minute lessons turn ordinary men and women into deadly covert operatives? Having done it myself, I'd say yes and no. No, because 6 lessons will never make you an expert fighter, but that was never the goal. Fairbairn and his fellow instructors weren't trying to build career martial artists. They were trying to give people the best possible odds of survival. So coming back to the question we started with, what made this course the stuff of close combat legend? It wasn't any single technique. It was the pioneering mindset behind it. Knowing they had just 4.5 hours, Fairbairn and his instructors stripped everything back. And in my opinion, this worked so well because the recruits weren't action heroes. They were just ordinary men and women sent on extraordinarily dangerous missions behind enemy lines, knowing there was a very real chance they might never come home. It's easy to analyse these techniques from the safety of a training hall, but they never had that luxury. They had to use them for real, and I don't think we should ever lose sight of that. Massive thanks to Chris for his time and expertise. I've linked his work and a full list of sources used down below. I'd fully recommend his class to anyone interested in historical combatives. We also recorded a much longer conversation about Fairbairn-Sykes and their time in Shanghai, the origins of Defendu and their influence on modern military combatives. That's going up on the channel for members soon. I'll add a link in the description, and if you haven't already grabbed it, my free YouTube companion guide, The Hidden Histories of Martial Arts, which goes into some of the myths surrounding Asian fighting styles, is in the description too. You can download it totally free. If you got something out of this video, a like and a subscribe genuinely helps. Train hard, stay safe, thanks for watching.